Welcome everyone, Costini here with a discussion about Grand Cathay in Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires, and to talk about the things that Creative Assembly should look at if they're going to improve, if not rework the race. It is a pretty sad state of affairs with the base Warhammer 3 races that all of them are in desperate need of rework. Grand Cathay, the least of them, but certainly does need certain improvements. Now I want to be very clear, Grand Cathay is one of the better races in general in the game, and certainly the best race out of the baseline races and Legendary Lords factions of Warhammer 3. But it does have issues. But let's talk about the good things that Grand Cathay does have. It does have a pretty solid unit roster that you have easy access to, and that is cheap. You want to look at what the Empire should have as a unit roster? Look no further than Grand Cathay, because they have Jade Warriors as a tier 1 unit, Jade Warrior Crossbowmen as a tier 2 unit, and of course Jade Warriors with halberds, and Jade Warriors with crossbows and shields at tier 3. These are great early game units. In fact, you can pretty much play the entire campaign or a very substantial portion of the campaign just using Jade Warriors. They are great units to use in a campaign. Both Jade Warriors and Jade Warrior Crossbowmen. Cavalry-wise, it is not necessarily a great situation, so maybe their cavalry does need some more units. I mean, it's not like Jade Lancers are bad, but why would you ever recruit a unit of Jade Lancers when you can just recruit more crossbowmen? Or you can get some great Longma Riders, or to ultimately get the Terracotta Sentinel. There's just no real value with it. Now, their economy is okay, but their economic buildings, while certainly cheap, just don't generate a huge amount of income. And one of the problems Grand Cathay does have is that while it generates a lot of income from trade tariffs, it doesn't generate trade resources, which is actually one of the things that makes the dwarves and the High Elves work very well, because they do generate a lot of those trade resources. Well, the Dwarves are still awful. It's just that their late game economic potential, that it does exist because they are generating trade resources. I think if you're going to be a faction reliant on trade, you do need to have a building that does produce trade resources, and Grand Cathay does not, which does limit their economic potential in the campaign. Now, Cathay itself is a great area of the campaign map, but here's the problem. Climate. Yes, climate is a major issue. There's only a handful of climates that are actually suitable for the current Legendary Lords of Grand Cathay, and I think that needs to be changed, especially in the mountain situation. I think if they made mountains available for Grand Cathay, that would certainly improve things by quite a lot. Maybe jungle as well. If we could have mountains and jungle, that would actually fix a lot of the issues we currently have in a Grand Cathay campaign. Because right now, the biggest problem in a campaign as Grand Cathay is that you really don't have a lot of territory to expand to once you're finished unifying Cathay itself. Like, once you're finished with unifying this entire portion of the campaign map, and there's certainly going to be settlements over here that are not going to be pleasant, you really don't have anywhere to expand. Yes, you could go in the Castways if you so desire, but obviously that's not great. The Mountains of Morn, do you really want to enter the Mountains of Morn? I mean, just gonna point this out, this area of the campaign map is one of the most awful areas of the game, because you've got Gorst over here. I've pretty much beaten him in this case. Oh, I did manage to lose quite a few units in this army, but Gorst does have a pretty bad auto-resolve situation. But you've got Gorst, you then have Kugaf, you then have Greases, and further to the north there is Grimgore. Yeah, expanding over here is not necessarily a great situation, especially when the climate in a lot of these territories is just not suitable climate. You can make it work, but it certainly is going to limit your campaign potential by quite a lot if you're doing so. Climate needs to change. Like, I'd say if they gave them mountains, things would be quite a bit better, because that way you could at least take the Mountains of Morn, even if you ended up having to fight Grimgore. Having to fight Grimgore, of course, is not a pleasant prospect in a campaign, but I would certainly say mountains and jungle would make a lot of sense for Grand Cathay. Also, if we didn't have to chase Nakai, by the way, to the ends of the earth to deal with him, it is an annoying factor, like when you're dealing with Nakai, that you have to end up chasing him all around the map. But still, there's a lot of good things to be said about Cathay as an area of the game, but there's also issues. Now, one of the bigger issues, one of the biggest issues, is the harmony meter. It is just plain awful. Now, if there was some kind of buffer, or if you had research, I would say that this would work very well. Like if you could unlock the potential of just having some kind of buffer with harmony, that would vastly improve Cathay campaigns, because it is really, really annoying having to manage the system. You obviously want perfect harmony in a campaign, because if you manage to get perfect harmony, you're going to get a significant diplomatic construction cost, income, and growth benefit. You do want that. There is a mod literally called Perfect Harmony. I do think that's a bit ridiculous. I mean, that's just basically meaning that you're playing the entire campaign without care in the world, but I certainly think the harmony mechanic was not great at all. There should be a way that you unlock like within 10 turns or so, where you can give yourself a buffer, like say +2 one way or another until you're getting completely out of whack, or +3, and ever increasing as you're playing the campaign, so that while early on it might be an issue to a certain degree, later on when you're dealing with a massive empire across the campaign map, it is less of a problem. Or honestly, just remove the harmony situation altogether. I mean, I get it, yin and yang are important, but the whole system as it currently works right now is not that great. It affects the way you're building things, it affects the things you're researching. It doesn't make you weak, it doesn't add difficulty in the campaign, it just makes it really, really annoying to have to manage your empire on the campaign map. Because you're ping-ponging between yin and yang. For every structure, for every hero, for every lord, it is yin or yang. It is really, really frustrating. Again, there is a mod that gives you perfect harmony. I would like a buffer. I think that would be a better situation, but I certainly think the harmony meter needs to be vastly improved the way it currently works, because it is honestly just not really that good at the moment. Okay, so that's one of the major issues. The other issue, let's talk about it, is of course the bloody compass. The compass is worthless, to be blunt about it, because you have the celestial light compass. There is absolutely no reason in a campaign to ever go for anything else. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Why would you? This gives you a 15% economic benefit. Oh, recruitment cost minus 10%. I don't care about recruitment cost minus 10% when I can get 15% income just by having this active, and growth, 15 growth. And Winds of Magic increasing in strength plus 40% in Cathay. So I'm getting Winds of Magic, I'm getting money, and I'm getting growth. There's the entire whooshing compass is completely and utterly pointless. The only thing that I would ever want to use in a campaign would be the Great Bastion. Sure, I'm not going to sneeze at control, but Cathay doesn't really have too much of a control issue, especially if you can maintain harmony, right? Like over here, it seems like I'm heading towards a rebellion, but all I just need to do is change the commandment over here, and I would solve that no problem. Or solve my harmony issue. That would solve all the problems I'm currently having over here. It is, however, a meaningless system. It's one of those things that they added as a feature in Warhammer 3. It's like, oh, let's give this compass and we get to decide, and you get to decide on a bonus. Yes, the problem is one bonus is clearly superior to everything else. It's the same issue as Kislev, by the way. Like, with Kislev, you always invoke Urson if you're playing as Kislev early on when you're trying to gain supporters. Then once you stop giving a damn about supporters, you always invoke Dash, because it is the best one available, because the economic benefit is important. Buffing your economy by 15% is not something to sneeze at all. Then there are the caravan systems, and honestly, I'll be blunt about it, I think the Cast Dwarves just have a much better caravan system. The Cathay caravan system is not necessarily it's not as good. I mean, it obviously works to generate you items and money, but it's not necessarily a great system either, I would argue, in the campaign right now. Especially because it's very easy to end up in a lot of wars and your caravans being at risk. And given the fact that, well, the Cast Dwarves hate you for pretty clear and obvious reasons, they are Cast after all, it is pretty damn easy to end up in a lot of wars with a lot of people. Finally, there is the obvious issue of casualty replenishment. And no, the whooshing compass does not count for it, because even in the best possible scenario, you're just getting 10% casualty replenishment, and you're sacrificing a lot to get that 10% casualty replenishment, it would be a really, really stupid move to go for that. So Cathay has really poor casualty replenishment by default. They have units that cannot resolve very, very well because of their high armor and leadership, but they will, however, deal with really piss poor casualty replenishment that they cannot increase, with the exception of a goddamn compass that you don't want to use there. So I think what Cathay needs, quite badly, is a hero that does give them casualty replenishment, a hero option. One of the great things about Cathay is that they can get a lot of hero capacity pretty damn quickly in their campaign because of the Alchemist Tower and how easy it is to get that Alchemist Tower and get a lot of alchemists. For the other hero, yes. For the other hero, it's not necessarily a problem there as well to get the Celestial Tower, to get the Astromancer, so increasing capacity does require you to get to tier 4. Or really, it does not, because you can get the Grand Observatory to get +1 hero capacity for that, and hero crew rank in itself is really insane over there. But you can get a lot of alchemists, you can get some astromancers, it is going to take time, but still there are plenty of ways of getting access to heroes if you're playing as Grand Cathay. There's also some great landmarks over here available in Grand Cathay. So the area is well designed, the landmarks are well designed, there's a lot of potential in the race, but you're just constantly annoyed by the harmony system, the whooshing compass being worthless, and of course the casualty replenishment situation. Because here's the thing, even if you ignore the fact that you're losing a lot of growth and you're losing a lot of income by, like, they're probably thinking, oh, you should flip between the two of them. Well, okay, let's assume that I was foolish enough to do so, right? My economy starts collapsing the moment I change that compass, because I want to maintain as many armies as possible. But let's ignore that. But let's assume that the way Creative Assembly designed this compass is under the idea that you're going to flip it around between the two of them, right? Okay, here's the problem. The moment you flip it around, the benefit starts going down, and you're going to start losing quite a lot of these benefits, right? You fill up the meter, and then it starts just going down and down. So it really doesn't really make sense to do that for a couple of casualty replenishment, because 4%, 2%, 4%. Like, if you completely max it out, yeah, sure. But maxing it out and keeping it maxed out, that's a pretty tall order. More likely you're going to get 4% at most. So they need a hero for casualty replenishment. They need more climate types. They need the compass to actually, like, to work better, to be worth it to go for the other effects as opposed to just growth and income from buildings, because right now it is not worth it. They need reasons for that. And I would say we probably could use also some research right now to improve the caravans. Like the way the Chaos Dwarf caravans just work is a lot better, and you can have multiple of them running at the same time. Though, of course, the catch for the Chaos Dwarves is they're spending quite a lot of resources to basically trade for other resources. It's a constant resource trade for them, though they do gain more than they're spending, of course, with regards to it. They are getting more from trading there, and they're spending on that. Though, when it comes to caravans, it should be pointed out that Xiao Ming is vastly superior to his sister in a lot of ways. Yes, she gets the ammo benefit. Okay, fair enough. Xiao Ming gets the diplomatic relations benefit with ogres. He doesn't care that he doesn't have the same diplomatic benefit that Miao Ying gets with all of Cathay, because you're going to have great diplomatic relations with Cathay pretty quickly in your campaign. And having 15 armor for melee units, well, just to give you an idea, Peasant Long Spearmen, which are supposed to be trash units right now in this particular army, because obviously we do have desert armor, so we're looking at 25. They have more armor than most of the Empire's roster of units. It is that freaking ridiculous for these units. And keep in mind, these units, they start at 15 armor. I think there's also a Lord effect, if I'm not mistaken, over there. No, I am mistaken over there. But yeah, it is pretty insane when you add it all up. I mean, there is a research, of course, like hardened bamboo, but still pretty ridiculous when you're considering Xiao Ming versus Miao Ming. If they're gonna add the legendary lord to Grand Cathay, I'm gonna have to ask the question: how is that legendary lord gonna be better than Xiao Ming's insane caravan benefit and melee benefit that he gets faction wide, as well as his his magic item drop chance that he does personally get right now in his campaign? It is going to be interesting if they manage to match his power. But either way, that's all there's to say right now about Grand Cathay. I emphasize it's not a broken race, it's not a broken faction. It does need improvements to make their campaigns more enjoyable, but it is a functional race as it is right now. They just need to be fixed or improved in the ways I have mentioned in this video. Costin signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications.